Hello everyone, the Artefact Addict here. Here for another quick lesson or tutorial. What I'm going to do this afternoon is just go through my Minelab manticore settings, what works for me, show you how to actually break it down by setting it up, but then also talk about what I know within those individual settings as well and why it works really well. What I'll do now is I'll pan in to the metal detector settings so you can see what I'm doing, and we'll do it step by step. Cheers guys. Okay, so cool, let's go into the settings. So turn it on, press and hold the power button. If you've sort of played around with your settings, you want to do a system reset. Press and hold it. It'll do like a factory reset and original, bringing all your settings back to original settings. So for this, I'm going to whack the volume all the way down. Just 'cause I'm in a caravan, it'll just be tweaking all over the place. But you'd have the first settings that sort of pop up when you press the setting cog button. Is the volume button. You just put that to preference. I have it all the way up to 25. Plus I play around with my settings as well on the old earphones as well. I turn them up all the way as well, just so I know I'm then not missing anything. And then press back up to come out of settings. You've got the cancel reject, you've got the horseshoe on the left. Turn that on then, and then that removes all the iron bias. Turn the horseshoe back on and it puts the iron bias back into place. The settings that you need to be aware of before going into individual settings, the key ones, the sensitivity. The sensitivity can be adjusted by these two arrows to the left instead of right. So the best way I've heard it being explained is you want to turn it all the way up, and then when you hear lots and lots of chirping, it's too much, turn it down too. And then that when it's chirping a little bit, it punches into the ground better, and that's the sensitivity you want really. And then the other thing you need to be aware of straight away is the multi-IQ button, which you really want to be setting that onto that, because that gets the most out of the manticore. But anyway, let's go through the settings individually, step by step. So I already explained the volume. So press the settings, go up one, all terrain general. You've got all terrain fast, low conductors, high conductors, and trash reject. So I've used trash reject a few times. It's brilliant for beaches when there's lots of ring pulls, and it will filter them out of 31s. It's brilliant for really trashy sites. However, it still won't filter out solid metal objects like a bit of scrap metal that's steel or whatever, because that's just not trash in the machine's eyes. So it's good, but it's as good as the machine can make it, if that makes sense. I only tend to use that in beaches or trashy sites because of the fear of missing hammies. There is a small chance of missing hammies on all terrain trash reject. High conductors, great for silver coins. I stay away from that because then you're not really using a multi-IQ function. You've got the low conductors then, great for the sort of big items. And then fast terrain, very similar to all terrain general. It's got slightly faster recovery speed and other tweaks within the general settings. So all terrain general, if you turn the machine on, put onto all terrain general and just tweak your sensitivity and recovery speed. All terrain general on itself will be fine, but after a couple of months you get more comfortable with the machine, start playing around with it. Don't worry about making mistakes. You can just go back to the beginning and then press and hold the power button and then reset and go again. So learn by watching videos, but learn mostly by user experience and playing around with it. So next one up then, noise cancel. Go to any field, find a clear area. Once you found a clear area, make sure your sensitivity is set to the correct one. Don't go back changing your sensitivity. Press the horseshoe on, clear area by scanning the ground. There's no iron around, for example. And then press and hold this button, and then that's your noise cancel. Wait for a few turns of the clock on 3. Yeah, and once after a few turns, I just keep it on that. Yeah, so that's that. If you go into a new field, do that same process again. Ground balance then, I just keep this on 0. Only once I've used ground balance, and I was on highly mineralized ground. So yeah, that's like just trial and error really. But 0 for most places in the United Kingdom, the soil it just isn't that mineralized, so you'll be fine with 0. Definitely stay away from that auto tracking, because from what I've read and from what I understand, the auto tracking can cut out signals as well, so just be aware of that and keep auto tracking off unless you're on horrendously mineralized ground. Recovery speed, I tend to stick mine on default on 5. Some people whack it up to 6. 5 seems to be fine for me, gets enough depth and I still get great separation with targets. For recovery speed then, what this does is it separates the targets, okay? So if your recovery speed is on 1 or 0, you'll literally get no recovery speed whatsoever. All the targets around, a 12-inch area will all be blurred into one target. And if you turn it all the way up to 8, you'll get hardly any depth, but you'll get great separation with targets close to the top of the surface. So yeah, play around with that. I find 5's fine. Most people I think I know are on 6, but if you're on 5 or 6, you'll be fine. If you're on super clear ground, super clean ground, nothing wrong with whacking it down to 4 for a little bit more depth, that's for sure. So yeah, I keep mine on 5. Discrimination pattern, all metal discrimination, that's when the horseshoe is off, and then you've got the discrimination pattern. Just hit the pencil button and then you can sort of play around with that if you want to. So I leave that as it is. Ferrous limits though I play around with. Hit the pencil button. All I do for this is I go open them up both by 1. So I go upper to 8, so open that up by 1, and then lower, press down button, and then lower up or down to 3. So you've still got lots of discrimination. It's discriminating all the junk out, but also it's opened up the settings a little bit. I know some people open them up all the way. All you'll get then is lots of chirping, but it does open up the machine to perform better. So that's something I might do later on as I gain more experience. But I've tried it all the way opened, and I've tried it this way, just opening it up a little bit, and I certainly don't seem to be like missing out on anything currently. So this definitely works for me. Ferrous volume then, leave that on 8. Hit the pencil. Ferrous pitch, leave that on 1. And stabilizer then, so I leave stabilizer filter off, and then stabilizer on 1. I tend to just keep it on 1 and I'll be fine on most areas. If you're excuse me, if you're in really iron infested grounds, you can whack the stabilizer up 1 or 2. If you put the stabilizer up too much, it'll sort of do the same as what it does with the recovery and sort of blur the targets into 1. So just be careful how you use a stabilizer. Stabilizer is a great tool, but it should only be used in highly iron infested areas. So I keep mine on 1 and it's fine. Tones, press the pencil button, go back 1. So these are the different tones you've got. You've got 1 tone, which is basically a yes or no. If you're going to use this, you may as well buy a C-scope. Yeah, it's just like you're not getting the most out of the machine. 2 tone, a little bit more detail. 5 tone, 1 regional tone, 2 regional tone, and 5 regional tone. So I used 1 regional tone for a bit. It's great for separation, and it's really good for the information it passes on to you, and there's nothing wrong with this. You can definitely use 1 regional tone and get a lot out of the machine. But what I've done now, I've just gone with 5 tone purely because I've upgraded from my Equinox 800 and it's exactly the same tones. So for me, it's like a no-brainer to use that. I might flick back to 1 regional tone at some point, where the difference is a steady rise on the sort of 1 to 99 of all the different tones. So your 0s and your 1s, your low numbers will be really thin items like foil or tiny bits of thin metal at 1s and 8s, and then you've got all the way over to the right, where I've had a florin, a solid silver florin, and they can be up to the 90s. They can, because they're so thick and dense in metal. So yeah, it's not so much what type of metal there is, it's more about the metal density, what gives you your numbers. So yeah, 5 tone for me. and especially if you're upgrading from an Equinox 800, it's just a bit of a no-brainer. And then as you sort of learn the machine and the pitches, and there's nothing wrong with using one of the settings. And remember, I said at the start as well, this is just my way of doing it. This is like not the right or wrong way of doing it. This is just what's been working for me at the moment. And I've been pulling up some good stuff on relatively like mediocre land as well. So I haven't been going on the big digs with all the Roman activity yet. But yeah, there's not much of my stuff on YouTube, but check it all out on my TikTok at the Artefact Addict. There's loads of my stuff on there, and just let me know what you think if you're on TikTok. And if you're not, get on there. It's a good little platform. Anyway, that's enough waffle. Audio themes, got normal, enhanced, depth, prospecting. So with depth, it's good with experience or maybe going back to the same ground. So what it'll do, it'll give you deeper targets faint, but if it's bad where you're hard of hearing or you just miss it, depth, it'll be quieter tones the deeper it is. So I keep mine on normal just purely because I know I'm not going to miss anything then. Hit the pencil button and then flick down to profile, and then I have that on simple, so it's just a nice simple tone. It really hits your socks off when you hit a good tone. So this is what I was speaking about earlier. This is probably the most important part. Just keep an eye on that on the top left all the time to make sure you're always in multi-IQ. If you flick into one of these other settings, don't get me wrong, if you're super experienced and you're going back over the same ground, there's probably advantages to flicking into different frequencies. But if you're on a rally and you're out once, you'll get most out of your machine by flicking onto multi-IQ, because then you're getting all of these ranges in one hit. However, if you specifically cleared grounds loads of times and you want to sort of be a little bit more thorough, then there's like nothing wrong with hitting these different frequencies to potentially get a little bit more depth on the old hammies and silvers and stuff. But certainly multi-IQ needs to be the frequency you're hitting like most of the time, that's for sure. So general settings then. So press the settings button, obviously English language. For vibration, I keep mine on off. For lighting, it's best way to do it is just stick it onto the auto thing. So flick it all the way over to the right, and when there's a greyed out black and white diagonal stripes, that's when you know it's going to be auto set in. Same with the keypad as well. And then flashlights, I keep that off, save the old battery. So the display on auto will just save your battery a little bit. And then ferrous indication, I keep mine on the underline only and not the numbers as well, so there's just not information overload. And then you can do the reset there as well, rather than press and holding the power button. And then the rest of the stuff isn't really like relevant. So yeah, that's it. That's my settings in a nutshell. The settings I'll call the Artefact Addict settings. They're very basic, but you know they work for me. That's the key one there. Just make sure you're not missing anything. People do open up the initial start of the iron bias and drop them down all the way, so there's one thin line there and one thin line on the top. That's fine. You can do that, but you're almost just running the machine then on iron discrimination off. Again, the really experienced guys use that. That's fine. You can do that. But coins generally, like even if I've had targets, a piece of iron right next to a decent coin, and there's been no dramas with the separation, I'm definitely able to pick up targets. So you check out my TikTok and some of my YouTube videos as well. I haven't been missing anything there. So yeah, no, thanks for your time. Please like and subscribe. If you've got any comments or any feedback, bearing in mind I've only been doing this hobby for a year myself, so I'm constantly learning. Got any feedback for me to improve this, improve my own settings, please let me know. I think the big one is multi-IQ, sensitivity, recovery speed. If you get all those three right and your iron discrimination isn't ruling you out, you'll be absolutely fine. Remember, swing low, almost coil scraping the ground. I've seen so many people out on rallies and they're not picking up hammies because their coil's like 4 or 5 inches off the ground. You're not getting the most out of the machine, whatever machine you're using. So swing low and slow, and make sure you're almost scraping the ground. Recover the swing speed's another big one as well. Swing speed on your recovery, so you can crank your recovery speed up a little bit, and swing a little bit faster, but you don't want to be swinging like a freaking demon like I see a lot of people do. Just keep it at a nice steady rate, cover the ground slowly, and then then if you walk over something, you should pick her up, rather than if you're swinging fast, you're walking fast. There's going to be like huge gaps in between your swing, where the metal detector is just not going to be able to cover properly. So yeah, thanks for your time, guys. As already mentioned, any feedback, please let me know. Good luck with your future metal detecting. Share your finds on my YouTube. Share your finds on my TikTok in my comments below.